Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
As I said in my video the other day, Anthony Joshua was out there training in Dubai. Now, he's been working on some drills, some shots on the pads. He's also been working on, I think, a bit of, is it wrestling or a form of it? Just a kind of grappling, I should say, kind of a form of that ahead of his Usyk rematch, which potentially is going to take place in the month of April, more than likely in the UK, as Eddie Hearn said. He's several different offers from other locations, but UK seems the most likely. That's all well and good. Now, in that video, I talked about AJ in a couple of pictures. Now, he was standing inside on angles, it has to be said, but he did look to me a little bit bigger. I know his arms kind of, looked a little bit bigger. It is very hard to tell with those angles because they can be so misleading at times. Andy Ruiz is someone who is he usually tends to take a picture of himself standing sideways because it does make... Obviously, we know Andy Ruiz is not exactly slim pickings. We know it makes that gut kind of look a bit more slim. You can never, until you see the person there and maybe you can have a like for like, this was him 3 months ago, this is him now, you're not really going to have much of a comparison to go on. Unless it's something dramatic, really dramatic that just stands out instantly. So, there was that. Now, a lot of people have been saying, and some have been saying this since the Usyk loss, in fact, some of them just in the wake of it, is that what AJ needs to do, alright, to give himself the best chance of victory, is to gain extra muscle. He was too light for the Usyk rematch, or he was too light for the Usyk first fight. Going into the rematch, he needs to be heavy. He needs to pack on some of the weight that he lost, over the last couple of years, specifically for the Ruiz fight. He needs to pack all that back on. He needs to put it on Usyk. He needs to shock Oleksandr Usyk, really go out there, all guns blazing, real aggressive. We hear AJ lately in interviews, with the aggressive kind of talking, saying that, you will respect me and all that kind of thing. That's all well and good. It's all well and good to say that, and to say, AJ needs to pack on extra weight. But for me, when fighters do that and they don't necessarily need to, it's normally not a good thing. And people have short memories, I think, because it wasn't that long ago that we saw AJ, it was only a couple of years ago, that we saw AJ in the 250s against guys like Klitschko, Takam. I think he was 249, if memory serves me correct, against Molina. Now, Molina will just, he's getting beat by Alan Babbage now, so we'll cross that one out. But specifically the Takam fight, he did not look good in that fight at all. AJ has never had the greatest stamina. I think that's fair to say. We can all probably agree with that. Even against Kubrat Pulev, when he was in around, in fact, I think he was either the same weight or maybe it was only a pound or two in it, but it wasn't much difference from AJ to Pulev. A lot of people were impressed with how AJ looked in the Pulev fight, and that's in around the same weight. I think it's only a pound or something like that difference, I think, if even. So in that fight, AJ, as I said, hurt Pulev in the third round, dropped him, I think it was once or twice, and he dropped him in that round anyway. And what did AJ do? The next few rounds, Kubrat Pulev was able to get a little bit back more into the fight because AJ was kind of going through the motions, letting the air get back into his lungs, letting the stamina recoup to go on another attack. Now, he did that at the low 240s. He's done that at 250s as well against Klitschko. It was longer in that fight. And saying that, to be fair, he was hurt himself, so I take that into consideration. He would have had to have taken a little bit more of a rest because he was hurt himself several times on the way to the 11th round. I do take that into consideration. Nevertheless, he was absolutely spent after exerting himself in that 5th round trying to get Klitschko out of there. I think that's always going to be an issue for AJ. And I think that if he wants to give him... I think that in order for him to beat Oleksandr Usyk, what he's talking about in terms of going aggressive, yes, I do think he needs to do that, but I also think he needs to be mobile at the same time. Packing on extra muscle, it's going to take away your mobility. AJ has always been a little bit stiff, a little bit robotic. Well, packing on, going up to 250, we'll say he goes up to 250, packs on 10, 15 pounds of muscle. Is that going to help with his stiffness? It's not going to help him at all. He's going to be even more stiff, he's going to be even more robotic, and he's going to lack a lot more fluidity. So I just don't see that method working. People would say, like, well, if you said to Joe Joyce, if Joe Joyce put it on Oleksandr Usyk, maybe that'd be same thing would happen. But the difference between Joe Joyce and Anthony Joshua is Joe Joyce walks around at 260 pounds like a 200. He doesn't need to pack on any extra weight. That is him naturally, a big, strong unit of a man. right? AJ, when he turned pro, I think he was in the 220s or very low 230s. He's gained this weight through weightlifting artificially. All right, we've seen that with loads of fighters over the years. I remember Shannon Briggs in the 1990s. Obviously, I wasn't watching boxing back then, but I watched a lot of his fights, subsequently on YouTube. He was in the 220s. He started rinsing the weights, was up in the 260s. Did it make any difference? It made him worse. Because he always had poor stamina, even when he was at his natural weight. And then he was carrying around all this extra. He's got asthma. So I just don't see fighters. I think in some instances, it can definitely play into a fighter's advantage, or it can play into their strengths in some instances. For example, Tyson Fury, for example, when, I kind of agree. I can see where Peter Fury or John Fury say was coming from. When Tyson was trying to get down to kind of 240, 250, it was taking a little bit out of him. That's a bit different. That's him trying to get himself down to a weight that his body realistically can no longer get to. So he's coming in heavier, but he's coming in kind of more of a natural weight. With AJ, as I said, it's not exactly natural when you're packing it all on through weights. Same with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, stamina's always been a good thing for him when he was in the two teens. He was spent, although he took a beating in both fights, but still, he was absolutely spent in both of the Fury fights. And even the first one to an extent, but it wasn't as bad in that one. Yes, he wasn't taking as much of a beating, but he was missing a lot. But Wilder packing on all that weight. I mean, if you look at Wilder, in fact, here's a good example. Look at Deontay Wilder's performances when he won the WBC title from Stavern. He was, I think, 219, went up to about 230, 229, 230. I can't remember exactly. But he had about three fights, I think, where he was in and around that weight. Didn't look good in any of them. Then he gradually came back down to the low 220s and the 210s. Started looking a lot better, because that was more his natural weight. With AJ, as I said, fluidity is going to be needed in the rematch. At the end of the day, you tried to box with Oleksandr Usyk in the first fight. It didn't work. Oleksandr Usyk was able to read them angles. He will know what to do. He'll know what AJ is doing. He'll know what AJ is coming with if you try to box him again. I get the fact that they're trying to look at a new game plan. Understandably so. Didn't work the first time, so try and change it up. But that strategy, if it is their strategy to go for, Usyk, put it on Usyk, try and rough him up and be extra heavy, that can backfire spectacularly. And if AJ is doing that plan, and say he weighs in about 255, he's trying that, it's not working, he is going to be absolutely knackered after a couple of rounds. And Usyk's going to have an even bigger target, an even slower, less mobile target, and probably an even more jaded target, and a target where if he is jaded, a lot of that power is going to go. And I just don't see that working out well. I really don't. Maybe some people want to disagree with me. That's fine. Let me know in the comment section if you think that AJ packing on weight is a better idea. Me personally, I don't. I think that if he comes in at this weight that he was at in the first fight, in around the 240s, that's good. If he wants to try and be a bit more aggressive, understand. I get that strategy. It didn't work where you were boxing with Usyk the first time, but that doesn't mean you want to throw the boxing out of there. Like I said with Chris Andre, I was amazed, baffled that AJ didn't go to Usyk's body as much as he did in the first fight. Baffled me. I thought the jab to the body would be crucial for Anthony Joshua to slow the legs down of Oleksandr Usyk. There's nothing wrong with keep trying to box with Usyk at range, throwing a bit of a jab to the body, because it's going to bring the hands down of Usyk as well. Bear that in mind. If it's landing consistently on the body, in the chest and tummy region, if AJ's landing a jab there, and they will hurt, it's going to bring the hands down of Usyk, which would make him a little bit more susceptible to the head. But as well as that, if he wants to throw something like that in there, as well as maybe try and put it on Usyk in parts, be a bit, don't just go for broke from the first bell. See what she can do, see what openings you get. Maybe something like that. Another thing that I find interesting is AJ's been in America. He's now in Dubai. We still haven't heard anything from Rob McCracken. I wonder what's going on there. That's an interesting one. What is going on with Rob McCracken? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, it's either going to go up tonight or tomorrow. Well, today if it's up in the morning, or tonight if it's... What night is it? Thursday. I think it's Thursday anyway. Yeah, it is. Tonight if it's Thursday night. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, peeps. Peace.